Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. It's really hard to do well in this country right now. Being an inflation has gotten completely outrageous. I hate to say it, but there's lots of things in this world that people can't seem to grasp. And economics is one of them. Foreign policy is another. And the line-ass media is another. So, have you noticed ever since the war or the conflict in Ukraine has broke out, don't nobody talk about COVID no more. Don't nobody talk about Coof no more. For 2 fucking years, that's all we heard about. That's all the news, every news station you turn to, that's all they talked about for 2 years. Now, all of a sudden, poof, it seems like the COVID's completely over with. Yeah. You know why? Because the whole narrative of the COVID pandemic has fallen apart. Has completely fallen apart. They've discovered that it was released from a lab in Wuhan. It was, the numbers have been inflated. And everything that we have been told over the past 2 years was an absolute fucking lie. Yeah. Was an absolute fucking lie. And I tried to tell y'all back on my Facebook days that you need to be more concerned about the reaction of the government to the pandemic than the pandemic itself. And God, was I right? Was I so right? So now, they don't even talk about the Coof. They don't talk about the infections. They don't talk about a new strain variant or anything. You know why? Because it's all over with. There's probably still people getting infected, but as far as like people dying of the Coof itself, by itself, with no COVID morbidities such as diabetes, obesity, or any other thing, but just straight dying of the Coof itself is non-fucking existent. Non-fucking existent. The CDC has already admitted that 75% of the numbers they claim of deaths from the Coof were all had COVID morbidities. Morbidities, I should say, morbidities. COVID morbidities. They did. 75%. So how many are they saying that has died from the Coof? 800,000, they claim. 800,000 people. 75% of 800,000. That's what, 600 something thousand. So you probably got 100, maybe 200,000, which I still believe is blown out of proportion. But don't y'all find it ironic, though, that they're not even talking about Coof anymore? Why? Because it was a fucking lie. It was a lie. It was all propaganda to scare you into submission. And unfortunately, there's a lot of fucking idiots out here that are still buying into it, buddy. Like my uncle, for one. He's afraid to even get out of his house. He hadn't hardly been out of his house in 2 years. 2 years. And he still thinks that he's going to die from the Coof. Still thinks that. Why? Because his daughter's a doctor, but she don't have anything to do with virology. She's a nuclear medicine doctor. But yet, she's getting pumped all the propaganda to her from all the medical fields and all that other stuff, and turning around and propagating it out to everybody else, including her own family, when she has no idea about virology whatsoever. She's a nuclear doctor, physician. So, she scared my uncle and my aunt into believing that they're all going to die as soon as they walk outside the door. And a funny thing on top of that is I recently was let go from my job because I refused to take COVID tests anymore. Even though the CDC, the federal government, and all these other people are saying basically that the pandemic is on its last legs, they didn't give a shit. They fired me anyway after 3 months of me ramming a damn Q-tip up my fucking nose. And I told them I'm not doing it anymore because I started having problems like sneezing all the time and my nose is always burning and itching. For 3 months, I had to stick that Q-tip up my nose with poison on it. With poison on it. If you didn't know, those COVID tests have a small, minute amount of poison. They do. It's to preserve the virus. And you can ask them at the doctor's office, well, does this have, I can't remember the damn name of it, some kind of silica or some shit. And I'm sorry I can't say the scientific name of it because it's just completely lost my head. But it has poison on it. It does. And I refused to take the test after 3 months of taking the test. When I walk around here, nobody's wearing masks. Basically, the pandemic's been down over in the South for quite some times now. Probably at least past 6 months to a year. Okay? But people, you are being fucking fooled. You're being fooled right now on the propaganda coming from the Ukraine. Yeah, you're being fooled into throwing support behind a country that you have absolutely fucking no idea about. Most of you dumb shits out there can't even find Ukraine on the fucking map. No, you can't. But yet you're going to throw your support behind Ukraine and say you support them and put your little Ukrainian flag on your Facebook post or page or whatever, and you don't know jack diddly shit about Ukraine. Like the fact that they're one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Absolutely corrupt. Do you not realize that back in 2014 when Russia took the part of Ukraine, Crimea, they took that all happened after the pro-Russian prime minister or president of Ukraine was ousted via a coup that was backed by the United States. Did you know that? No. It's the same thing that happened in Iran in the 60s. Where we overthrew the government in Iran and implemented our own little government puppet to run the country. Okay? Exact same thing that's happened in Ukraine. I don't agree with Russia. I'm not a supporter of Russia. But from what I have studied and I have researched, Russia has a legitimate grievance against Ukraine, wanting to join the NATO. See, people don't know their history at all. The reason that NATO was created was to push back against the spread of communism in Europe. Yes, that's the only reason it was created. What happened to communist Soviet Union? It collapsed. There is no communist Soviet Union. Now Russia is a federal republic. It's ran by laws. Not bullshit communist propaganda like China. No, it's not. So Ukraine had their pro-Russian prime minister, president, or whatever you want to call it, ousted by a coup within the country. And the new president is a straight-up American puppet. And you can tell by how the mainstream media props him up on the news and how they brag about how he's such a great leader and how he's such this and such that. Do you not realize that in Ukraine there is a whole battalion in their army that are nothing but neo-Nazis? Do you know that? No, you don't know that. Because you're too fucking ignorant. You're too fucking gullible. You're too fucking stupid to find shit out on your own because you're just lazy. You want to believe everything the media tells you and just go with it. That's just the definition of pure fucking ignorance. Pure ignorance. And people, until the American people get their fucking head out from up their ass, then we are fucking doomed. The dollar's fixing to collapse, hyperinflation's fixing to kick in, and all you fuckers out there that don't know how to survive are fucked. Big time. Heed my warning. And once again, don't you find it ironic that all of a sudden COVID they don't even talk about the Coof anymore? So when all we heard for 2 years was nothing but the Coof is going to kill you. You got to get vaccinated. You got to get tested. You got to do this. You got to do this. There's 15 days to slow the curve. All that bullshit. All fucking propaganda. And all you patriots and freedom-loving people out there, I tell you and advise you, start making your stand. And there's a lot of people out there doing that. Refuse to wear a mask. Take your business elsewhere if the business requires that you wear a mask. Most businesses have a sign on their door and they don't even care if you come in without a mask. Some do. Take your money elsewhere. Because all this shit is a fucking lie to try to get us convinced into giving up our freedoms for a little bit of safety. And I'll quote Ben Franklin, and I'll leave you with this. Whenever you sacrifice liberty for safety and security, you deserve neither. And that's more true words than ever. Look at all the rights we've lost over the past few decades out of fear. We lost our 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment right when 9/11 happened. They took that away from us. But all they got to do is claim that you're a terrorist and you lose your 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment right. You have no due process. You have no right to a court of your peers. You have no right to a jury trial. You have no rights whatsoever if you are labeled a terrorist. And what are they fucking doing right now? They're trying to label everybody in America that's pushing back against the narrative a terrorist. And it's all the plan. How funny is it that Biden is picking up right where Obama left off? Do you not remember when Obama left office? How much was gas in a gallon? How much was it a gallon when Obama left office? It was about $3.50, $3.25 a gallon. It was high. Trump coming to office got gas all the way down to $1.45. But as soon as Joe Biden, look at it, the first fucking year of Joe Biden's presidency, we go from $1.40 a gallon to almost $4 a gallon here in the South. And if you don't think all this shit is planned out to try to control you, to try to get you to comply, to coerce you by taking your livelihood from you, because if you don't do what the government tells you to do, you lose your job, then you are a fucking fool. And I'm tired of this country being run by fools and having fools believe everything that the fools up at Capitol Hill tell them. You got to get your fucking head out of your asses, people, because this shit is going to get way fucking worse if you don't. Heed my warning. God bless Dixie.